Hello, everybody, and welcome to 38 Weeks to Go, your weekly podcast about fantasy football. Game week 33 is done, and we have 5 weeks left to go. There is only one way to sum up this game week: Palmer to the rescue. All the highest point getters in our group captained Palmer. Everybody who was having a bad week was saved by Palmer. The highest person this week... I would tell you luck. The highest person this week got 167 points, and he triple captained Palmer, but only because Foden did not play. As for me, what can I say? I forgot to make my team. It was completely unchanged from the week before. I thought I had time, but I didn't, and therefore Gordon was on my bench with 17 points. Salah, who I had previously said would not be my captain, remained my captain. I left it too late to make changes, and I went too far overboard because I was waiting for Europe to end before making any real changes and transfers to my team, but that really worked against me because I did not remember. Or rather, I did not remember in time. I got 60 points, which isn't too bad, considering I didn't change my team. I'm sure Jeremiah Obiri and Melvin would be very proud of my antics. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I would have chosen Palmer as my captain, but I definitely would have chosen Haaland. The funniest thing that happened in my team is that Nuri did not play, so he got 0. And then the first defender substitute was Pedro Porro, who came on with 0 because they were hammered. And that's a good segue. Now, this weekend was very unexpected, and we will start with the biggest result of the weekend, or rather of the game week. The biggest result of the game week: Chelsea 6, Everton 0. Palmer 4 goals. At this rate, this guy might be 12 next season. You heard it right, 4 goals. This is Chelsea with the Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. This is them. This is peak Chelsea. This is the best performance of the season, or maybe the best result. Sometimes performance and result are not the same thing, but this is amazing. 6-0. 4 goals for Palmer, 1 for Nicholas Jackson, who actually didn't look too bad, and 1 for the young one, Gilchrist. Nicholas Jackson had 2 assists, Chilwell had 1, Cucurella had 1. This would have been a great game to have a Chelsea defender, for those of you who still had gusto. All the goals that Palmer scored were good. I thought it would just be a bunch of pens, but it wasn't. He showed his whole round game. He really is Lampard's successor. I am just very happy that I decided to just leave him on my pitch. Best decision ever. Palmer, of course, got the bonus 3, Nicholas Jackson got 2, and Cucurella got 1. Another high-scoring game which was a bit surprising is Newcastle 4, Spurs 0. I really am at a loss for words. Before the match, Rio Ferdinand was praising Van de Ven, saying that he is one of the best defenders. Called him even a Rolls Royce of defenders. And then for the first 2 goals he was on the ground, slipping like Gerrard. Spurs were punished for their mistakes. The first 2 goals were mistakes. The last 2 were really good. I mean, all goals were good. The finishing was amazing. Isak was amazing. Isak had 2 goals, Gordon had 1, and Schär had the other. Gordon had 2 assists, and Bruno Guimaraes had 1. Gordon had the 3 bonus points, Isak had 2, and Schär had 1. This game convinced me that I need to get Heung-min Son out of my team, and I have for the next game week. I didn't even think twice. They're not playing anyway, so I got him out of my team. I swear this Premier League season is so confusing. You never know where the clean sheets are coming. They just come and they go. A surprising and disappointing result was Liverpool 0, Crystal Palace 1. Now, Arsenal lost 2-0 to Aston Villa, which is also a disappointing result. However, it may not be as surprising as losing to Crystal Palace because Aston Villa are a better team and they have beaten Arsenal in the season already. Crystal Palace won? That was surprising, especially that Liverpool did not score. For people like me who forgot to change their captains, and for others who believed in Salah, we shared the pain together, and this is 2 weeks in a row. Well, it feels like 2 weeks in a row. He got something last week, but he wasn't convincing. He is not in great form. I'm not going to go as far as to say Liverpool live and die with his form, because they were fine without him. But he is hurting them, and I'm not sure Klopp is going to be brave enough to change the system to a pre-Salah Africa Cup type formation, because it is clear to anyone who is watching it that he is not in form. So let him play himself back into form. Let him be motivated to get back into form. Because at this rate, the title is slipping and it might have gone. I had previously said there were only really 2 threats from Crystal Palace, and those were Mateta and Eze. Mateta missed chances. The keeper made good saves on both ends. They made good saves. Eze was the one who scored a very good goal. Mitchell on the wing, cut back to him, and it was an easy looking goal. If you haven't watched the highlights of the Atalanta game, it looked like it was going to be another whitewash. It looked easy for them to score. Something has changed in the Liverpool defense. I don't know if it's lack of concentration or intensity, but something has changed. Liverpool did have chances. They did try to score. It just wasn't going their way. At the end, Mitchell got the 3 bonus points. Anderson got 2. Henderson got 2. Eze got 2. Shows you how well the backline played for Crystal Palace. The marquee game of the weekend was supposed to be Arsenal versus Aston Villa. This was a really good game. I thought Arsenal would win it, but it wasn't meant to be. 2-0 to the visitors. Goals from Bailey and Watkins were enough to settle the game. Watkins' goal, which was the second of the game, was particularly beautiful. A very nice chip. Mateta could learn a thing or two from this. For all of you who were like me and had Ben White, this was the best result ever. Well, not ever, but Ben White got the clean sheet, got substituted, they conceded 2 goals. Digne and Tielemans had the assist. And also, if you check out the highlights, you'll see that Tielemans had a really, really great shot. Hit the top stanchion and then the post. Amazing. Digne had the 3 bonus points, Martinez had 2, and Watkins had 1. This week had very high top performers. Number 1, Palmer, 26 points. Number 2, Gordon, 17 points. Jeremy Doku, haven't heard from him in a while, 16 points. Andreas Pereira, 15 points. Along with Bruno Fernandes, who is having a good tail end to the season. Nicholas Jackson, 14 points. Shah, 13. Digne, Mitchell, Vardiol, Isak, Cunha, all round up with 12. There were 5 clean sheets this weekend, so you know there are going to be very many high-performing defenders. The top-performing goalkeepers are, at number 1, a 3-way tie, Martinez, Henderson, and Leno. And then you have Jose Sa and Flecken. Jose Sa got 8, Flecken got 7. Oh, that rhymes. Flecken got 7. Anyway, defenders. The top-performing defender was Shar, and he has been a great asset if you've been having him. I've never had him because I was more of the Trippier guy, but he has been good this season. He had 13 points. Tied for number 2 is Digne, Mitchell, and Vardiol, who had 12. Cucurella was the 5th with 10. Looking at the top 5 midfielders, Palmer, 26 points. Gordon, 17 points. Doku, 16. Andreas Pereira, 15, along with Bruno Fernandes. That's wild. That's very high. And as usual, midfield takes the cake. Strikers now. Nicholas Jackson, 14. Wow. It's not too often he's the top performing striker of the weekend. Anyway, Jackson, 14. Isak and Cunha tied for 12. Haaland had 10. And Watkins was tied with Solanke for 5th with 7. Now, some facts. The most selected player this fantasy is still Haaland. He was the most captained this weekend. Salah was the most vice-captained this weekend. The top 5 top transfers this weekend were Gordon, who was number 1, Saka, who was number 2, Isak, number 3, Luis Diaz, number 4, and Shar, number 5. Imagine if you brought in Gordon, Isak, and Shar this weekend. You are the real MVP. Most transferred out, Son, Bowen, Pedro Porro, Foden, Tony. With 4 goals yesterday evening, Cole Palmer is now joint top scorer with Haaland at 20 Premier League goals. Over the last 12 games, Palmer has had 12 goals and 6 assists. Only 2 blanks. With his 26 points, Palmer is now the 8th highest points getter for a single game week. Number 1 is Mo Salah with 29, Lampard 2 with 28, and Lampard again, number 3 with 28, John Anarisa and Steve Watson, 27. Walcott, Antonio and Cole Palmer are tied at 26. Since the international break, Salah has returned 7, 1, 8, and 2, and one of those was a penalty, so he hasn't really been great. Bukayo Saka has not created or received a big chance from open play in his last 5 games. Yet in that period, he has scored 4 goals and 2 of them from open play. So it means he's overperforming right now, and statistics such a weird thing. Foden is perfectly fine. He was just being rested for the Champions League. Ten Hag subbed Garnacho early and threw him under the bus, kind of like Sancho. So it makes you wonder what the future for Garnacho is. And for those of you who believe in him, his time might be limited now. Darwin Núñez has been flagged offside 45 times in the past 2 seasons. That's the highest amongst all players in the Premier League. It means on average he's offside once every 80 minutes. So he's going to be offside at least once a game. Manchester United have conceded 565 shots in the Premier League this season, the highest since 2003-2004. Erling Haaland has now scored against all 22 Premier League teams he has played against with Manchester City. Alessandro Isak is the first player to score 20 plus goals across all competitions in a top flight season for Newcastle since Alan Shearer in 2003-2004. Cole Palmer is the first Chelsea player to score 4 goals in a single game since Frank Lampard did in 2010. He really is the replacement. Since Bruno Fernandes joined Manchester United, he has 91 goals and assists, like if you add them in total. Number 2 is Kevin De Bruyne with 85, and number 3 is Phil Foden. So he has been good. Manchester City versus Luton was a perfect example of the haves and the have-nots. Luton's team value is £66 million, and by that I mean the starting lineup that played that game. Manchester City's starting lineup was worth £791 million. That means Manchester City was roughly 12 times more expensive than Luton. And this season, clubs have paid £409 million to agents/intermediaries for their transfers. I think we need to start looking into newer professions. Clearly, there's money in football. And of course, as you can imagine, Chelsea paid the most, having paid £75 million. Number 2 is Manchester City, who paid £60 million. Manchester United, a third, who paid £34 million. Liverpool, a fourth, they paid £31 million. And Arsenal, a fifth, they paid £24 million. Bournemouth manager was named Manager of the Month. Rodrigo Muniz of Fulham was made Premier League Player of the Month. It was Sadio Mane's birthday, maybe 4 or 5 days ago. And here are a few things he has done. In his hometown, in his village, he has funded a $600,000 hospital. He has built a $300,000 school. He gives everyone in his village $100 monthly. He has provided 4G internet to his village. And he's currently building a post office. He is really improving the lives of his people back home, and that's quite commendable. Happy belated birthday to you, sir. When it comes to our table, the most transferred in player was Luis Diaz, who was tied with Isak and Gusto. So for you managers who brought him in, well done. For those of you who brought in Foden, Polisana. The most popular removal from our group was Bowen, who was removed by no less than 4 managers. Son was removed by 2, well done to you guys, and Douglas Luiz as well. Maybe unlucky people who got removed were Watkins and Haaland, especially considering that they scored. The highest weekly points this week was 167. Isn't that just wild? 167. The average, however, was 58 points. Therefore, if you got more than 58, well done. You have achieved higher than the global average. 19 over 25 got over 58 points in our group. So well done, guys. Overall, we did really well. The average of our league, however, was 69.5, pretty much 70. So well done, guys. That is quite a competitive score. 70 is no joke. Well done. The highest points getter in our group was Tommy Oladipo. Well done to you. 96 points. Number 2 was Mike Wow, 043 Boys, 95 points. Number 3 was Dennis Gadhiga, 94 points. Number 4 was Team Kubwa, 87 points. And number 5 was Goodness Gracious Me, 84 points. Tommy gambled and took Palmer as his captain, 52 points. But I guess at this point you can't really call it a gamble. Palmer has been so solid for the last 12 weeks. Number 2 was Isak in his team. Haaland was 3rd in his team. And then you have Solanke with 7, Garnacho with 4, Ben White with 5. And I'm seeing on his bench he had Martinez who had 9. That's painful considering Raya had 1. But I guess, like most people, he thought Arsenal would defeat Aston Villa, which is fine. But well done to you. That is a great haul. Mike Wow did the same thing. Captain Palmer, 52 points. Shar got 13. Isak got 12. Haaland got 10. And those were the biggest performers in his team. The rest got 2s and 1s. Dennis Gadhiga also had Palmer as his captain. He then had Isak, who gave him 12, Solanke and Watkins, who gave him 7, Robinson, who gave him 6, and the rest of his team had 2s and 1s. Last week, Mr. Goodness Gracious Me gambled on Muniz as his captain, and he got 2 or 4. And this week he bounced back, choosing another captain, Palmer, 52 points. Well done. Then he had Isak, 12, Haaland, 10, Ben White, 5. When looking at our table, Mr. Mutune is still up top, but the gap has considerably closed. With 5 game weeks to go, it is now 10 points between him and number 2. He got 51 points. The Liverpool fan in him could not help but captain Salah, and that was very detrimental. In fact, if he didn't have Palmer in his team, he would have gotten like 25 points. His team was really not the best. Vex City in number 2 got 76 points, and that has helped close the gap considerably. With Haaland as a captain and Palmer in his team, he was buoyed very highly, and he looks like he's going to give Tourné a run for the money. 5 weeks left to go. Just 10 points behind him is Simon Nanijua. Mr. Leon, he got 84 points, which gives him a total of 1990. Vex City at number 2 has 2,000, and Mutune has 2,010. Now, if you remember last week, the Leons were tied, but Leon Mortier wasn't running too well this week. He got 51 points, just like number 1, and his captain choice also let him down, with KDB as captain, and also without Palmer, it would have been a tough one, huh? So yeah, Palmer to the rescue. That was really the theme of the week. He really carried us all, for better or for worse. So now he's roughly 30 points behind number 3. And 23 points behind him now is Mr. LED, who has 71 points. With 5 weeks left to go, it looks like the race for Champions League is tight, because Tommy, with his 96 points, is now 11 points behind number 5, and just 33 points behind number 4. So anything could happen. At the bottom of the table, Jeremiah Obiri is now last. Melvin Kathrima got 74 points thanks to Bruno Fernandes as captain. Who knew having Bruno as captain could be so good? It's only by watching this Melvin Kathrima team that I realized that the form of Bruno Fernandes has been quite impressive over the last 4-5 weeks. So Jeremiah Obiri has 1386 points, At number 24, Melvin has 13 points. At number 23, Muhammad Jabil has 15 points. Moses Chege, number 22, has 87 points, which got him to 1690. And at number 21, Kime Mutinda got 51 points, and he has 1728. So Team Kubo could really move to the teens if he has a few similar game weeks. As a Chelsea fan, he's been captaining Palmer, which has really helped him. So I'm sure he's going to stay with that. Meanwhile, I am languishing mid-table, number 13 of 25, like mid-table, with 1836. We have a new game week upon us. Game week 34. The first thing that you need to know is that it is a double game week. Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, Everton, Sheffield, Wolves are playing twice. Now, if you have your free hit left, this is one of the perfect times to use it. Either this one or the next double game week. The Spurs are not playing this weekend. The games kick off with Luton versus Brentford. Luton were just beaten by City over the weekend 5. I was hoping for a clean sheet, but Luton are Luton and they keep scoring. If Luton could only defend, they would definitely be safe. Brentford, on the other hand, came out with a 2-0 victory, where Zanka, Reguilon and Flecken got the plaudits. Brentford are not playing twice, so I wouldn't recommend anyone getting into this fixture because Luton are not playing twice either. Luton haven't kept a clean sheet in 13 games now. However, they have scored in 5 of their last 5 games. Brentford have a really good recent history against Luton, having won their previous 3 encounters. Having said that, Brentford haven't won away from home in their last 5 matches. So, what does this mean? Well, if Luton are to win, they have to win more than 1-0 because they can't keep clean sheets. Brentford, on the other hand, seem to have recovered their form. Even though Brentford seem to be out of relegation, they're number 15 currently, 7 points clear of Luton. If you are getting into this game, Reguilon and Wissa and Bumo would be the first 3 people. If you're getting into Luton, Barkley, Morris, Ogbene. Sheffield are playing twice. Their first game is against Burnley. Burnley have a better head-to-head record, and in their last encounter, Burnley hammered them 5-0. Now, if you're a gambler, this is a kind of game where you would be looking to get into a Sheffield player in the midfield, especially if you're using a bench boost, and you get somebody like Brereton Diaz, and then maybe McBurney, and that's about it. If you're getting into Burnley, which you shouldn't, Brun Larsen should be there, maybe Amdouni and Fofana. There will be goals in this game. Sheffield haven't kept a clean sheet in 13 matches. They haven't won a match in 8 attempts. Burnley haven't kept a clean sheet in 16 matches. Their last clean sheet was probably against Sheffield when they won 5-0. Burnley are probably favoured. They tend to be better than the other 2 for some reason, even though Luton seem to be more competitive generally speaking. But Sheffield are playing twice. There is room for differential here. Wolves versus Arsenal. Wolves will be taking on Arsenal. Wolves and Arsenal will be playing twice. Arsenal have won their last 5 encounters against Wolves, with the recent one being 2-1. Arsenal will be playing after the Champions League. They just lost to Aston Villa. Arteta doesn't seem to have that balance quite right just now. This could mean it's a good opportunity for Arsenal to be beaten again. And if you believe that and you're going to invest in Wolves players, you may look no further than Cunha, Sarabia and Ait Nouri. You really have no business looking at any other person from that team. Well, not ahead of these guys. From Arsenal right now, you have your favourites, just stick to them. By this point, you believe in Arsenal's defence, so you probably have 2 or 3 defenders from them. Keep them. Or you have midfield from them, so you probably have Saka, Martinelli or Jesus or somebody. At this point, I'm not going to advise you about Arsenal players because you know who's working for you. Stick with them. Wolves haven't won a match in 5 attempts, so it's not looking like they're going to be good. They also haven't kept a clean sheet in 7 matches, so maybe not Ait Nouri, unless you believe in his attacking potential, hoping that they're not completely hammered by Arsenal. Everton take on Nottingham Forest the next day, that's Sunday. And Forest are in much better form than Everton are. Everton were just recently hammered 6-0, and they will still be reeling from that. I'd like to say that this is a kind of game where you'd want to see a reaction from Everton, but they've been so poor this season. A reaction probably means they don't lose, they draw 1-1 or 0-0. In their last 3 encounters, Everton won 1, the most recent one in December. They drew their previous 2 encounters. This matchup might be more evenly tied than we think. If you're somehow looking into Everton, their last 3 goal scorers have been Calvert-Lewin and Beto, and those are their first 2 I would recommend, and then maybe Doucouré and Dwight McNeil. But please do not get into Everton for their offense. You'd be better placed doing that by getting Morgan Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest. You get him, you get Wood, and Elanga or Callum Hudson-Odoi. Everton beat Forest the last time they played. Forest haven't kept a clean sheet in 9 matches. Also, Forest haven't won away in their last 7 matches, which bodes well for Everton. So you're probably better off getting your Pickfords and Mikolenkos and what's the other guy? Tarkowski, because Braithwaite may still be injured. Aston Villa versus Bournemouth. This will be a good game. Bournemouth will be playing twice, so Solanke, Kluivert, Semenyo, Senesi, Zakaria, Neto. It's hard to choose, but choose from those players. Semenyo and Solanke scored for Bournemouth the last time these guys played. Bailey and Watkins scored the last time these guys played. Their recent record shows a draw, a win for Aston Villa, and a win for Bournemouth. So it's evenly split. They are both in good form. You're better off waiting to see how Aston Villa fare in their European fixture against Lee before making any commitments to them. They were particularly impressive against Arsenal, especially at the back, and so even getting a defender might be a good idea from them. But also remember, Aston Villa tend to be good at home. They have been really good at home. They have been unbeaten in their last 4 home games, and they have scored 10 goals in their last 5 games, meaning they score at least 2 a game. Bournemouth play twice, so bank on them. Crystal Palace versus West Ham, a London derby. Their last 5 encounters show that Crystal Palace have won 2, drawn 1, and lost 2. So it's fairly even. Crystal Palace had that impressive win over Liverpool, and you have 3 players to look at if you're getting into Crystal Palace. They are playing twice, so you have a choice of Mateta, Eze, Olise, Tyrick Mitchell, Anderson, if you want to get into the defense. West Ham have been struggling to score since they lost Bowen, and they haven't scored in their last 2 matches. They're still the team that has conceded the most penalties this season. So with the trickery of Eze and Olise, there's potential for some damage to be done. West Ham are not in great form, so this is the right time to get out of them. However, if you still believe in them, Kudus, Paqueta, James Ward-Prowse are your safest bets. Fulham versus Liverpool. Fulham have been sneaky good. In their last 5 matches against Liverpool, they have won 1, drawn 2, and lost 2. So Liverpool are favourites. In their last encounter, it was a thriller that ended 4-3. What does this say? It means don't bank on a clean sheet from Liverpool. Liverpool are in a tough position because they sort of have to try and get back from 3-0 down in Europe against Atalanta, and also still challenge against Fulham on the weekend because that loss against Crystal Palace hurt their title hopes. And they're going to try to avoid getting out of all competitions in 1 week. Fulham are home. I would like to say I'm going to bank on Mr. Muniz, but I'm getting off of him in favour of somebody who will be playing twice. Liverpool have been shaky at the top. They seem to hit the post. They seem to not click, and it doesn't make any sense. Having said that, Liverpool play Fulham and Everton. In theory, this is crying for Salah captaincy. He's crying for it. It's going to be a tricky one. For Liverpool, Diaz, Salah, McAllister, those are your best bets. You can go with Nunez and Gakpo, but not before these other three, because Nunez will be wasteful. He is the most wasteful player right now, on top of being offside all the time. For Fulham, Pereira should be a number one choice, and maybe Muniz, and he will be. And for those of you who believe in the Fulham defense, just stay with your Leno and your Robinson. Now, this double game week spans over 2 weeks. So they start on the 20th, which is a Saturday, and end on the 25th of April, which is a Thursday, next week. So it will be a while before we know for sure how we are doing. The last game will be Man City versus Brighton. The games will resume on Tuesday, and we'll see Arsenal take on Chelsea at home. Chelsea have just given a great account of themselves against Everton, so it means they'll probably get hammered. Not because I want them to, but because Chelsea are inconsistent. I thought the last time they met Arsenal they were the better side, but they just couldn't keep it together. It was a draw, 2-2. Palmer scored, Mudryk scored. Then Rice and Trossard scored for Arsenal. In their last 5 matches, there's been 1 draw and 4 victories for Arsenal, which means Arsenal are the favourites for this game. Odegaard, Jesus, Saka seem to score the most against Chelsea, so in case you're wondering how to go, that might be it. If you're looking to get into Chelsea, you really have Palmer. The first player you should be getting. He should be the first player on your team sheet. And then after that, just guess. It might be Madueke today, it might be Nicholas Jackson, it might be Sterling. Just whoever you choose next doesn't matter, as long as the first choice from Chelsea is Palmer. As we know, Arsenal have kept the most clean sheets this season, and Chelsea have been awarded the most penalties this season. And they are unbeaten in 5 away games. So they may be title party poopers. Let's see how this plays out. Wolves versus Bournemouth. In their most recent 3 matches, Wolves have won 1, Bournemouth have won 1, and they've drawn 1. This might be the kind of game you may want to have a Bournemouth defender, especially since it was a draw 0-0, and when Bournemouth won, it was 1-0. Solanke and Cunha are the top goal scorers in this recent fixture. You will already have chosen your players based on the first game, and whoever they are, continue with them. Crystal Palace against Newcastle. So this is Crystal Palace's second game. Newcastle haven't lost to Crystal Palace in their last 6 matches. They are the favourites for this encounter. Newcastle at home and Newcastle away are 2 different teams. It is very possible for Crystal Palace to pull off an upset here, but it is not very likely. Newcastle will be favourites for this game, and Isak and Gordon should be your first 2 players, and then Schär. That's it. For Crystal Palace, still Mateta, Olise, and Eze. Everton versus Liverpool. In their last 5 encounters, Liverpool have won 4 and drawn 1. They're the clear favourites for this encounter, and should you choose your Liverpool players, Diaz, Salah, who was the other one? Maybe McAllister. This double game week will be very important for both Liverpool and Arsenal. This may be the kind of game where Liverpool gain their form again. However, looking deeper into their fixtures, Liverpool tend to beat Everton when they're at home, and when they draw, it's at Goodison Park. In fact, out of their last 5 visits to Goodison Park, they've only won once and drawn 4 times. So it may not be the easy fixture it appears to be. Manchester United versus Sheffield United. Man U have not kept a clean sheet in 5 games. Fernandes is in good form. Sheffield will be playing twice. Burnley and then this game. Sheffield have not kept a clean sheet in 13 games. It may be 14 by the time this game comes about. Manchester United will be favoured even though they're not in the best of form. Their last 3 encounters have been close games with Manchester United winning 2-1, then Sheffield winning 2-1, and Manchester United winning 3-2. So even if it looks easy on paper, it's not straightforward and definitely no clean sheet. I've already spoken about Brereton Diaz and McBurney. For Manchester United, Fernandes, I would have said Garnacho, but they seem to be having issues right now with Ten Hag. So I don't know what to do with that. Brighton versus Manchester City. Man City have a favourable record against pretty much everybody, and in the last 5 matches, Manchester City have beaten them 4 out of 5 times. They drew the other one. This game will see Manchester City have quite a break. They will play Real Madrid on Wednesday, and then they won't play again until that Thursday. So that's a bit of a week break, which is good for a team like them. So they may be fresh, which means that they could put out their best squad. However, the match being on Thursday means that their next game falls on Sunday, which is at 2. So you have Friday, Saturday, which is 2 days. So there will be a squad rotation because he will complain about the fixture congestion. Now, we are not wrong in thinking that Haaland and Ederson will play. After that, it's dealer's choice. I don't need to tell you people that KDB may not play or Foden may not play. You know this very well. You have people who have brought in Foden, he hasn't played, and KDB has played, and the opposite. So you know that pain. So I don't need to tell you anything about that. So after Haaland and Ederson, even though you really shouldn't be getting a Manchester City defender, they just can't keep a clean sheet. Dealer's choice. Probably get Rico Lewis or Jeremy Doku. I think if you believe a match does not matter, just put in Doku. If you think it's important, bring in Silva. Now, there's absolutely no reason for you to be getting a Brighton player, but should you insist on getting one, Welbeck, Cross, and maybe Ansu Fati because he scored the last time they played, but really you have no business choosing Ansu Fati over the other two. Now, we will be having 5 games left. If you have a chip, this wouldn't be a bad time to use your wildcard or your bench boost or your free hit. If you have those, this is the time to use them. One of them. Or even a triple captain. It's hard to choose a captain because you have to sort of choose somebody who's playing twice because they have another opportunity to go. But the double fixtures aren't looking nice. If you believe in Arsenal, then you probably have Saka, who will probably be your captain. I'm here flirting with having Havertz as my captain. Some of you hardcore people will still stick with Palmer, even if he's just playing one game and that one game is against Arsenal, which is the best team in the league in terms of defense. Luis Diaz and Salah could be great captains. Luis Diaz more than Salah because Luis Diaz, when he scores, it actually looks like he walked for the goal. Salah, outside of penalties, he doesn't look like he can do anything. That may not be fair because he does do things in the back. It's just that he's getting further away from scoring, even though his involvement is still valuable. It's like he's turning into an Iniesta. Cunha or Solanke may be differential picks as captain. I honestly think those are your best captain choices. Oh, as we wind up, choose your captain carefully, use your chip carefully, and see you on the pitch. Also, please be better than me. Make your team. Bye.